Everybody, welcome back to Reason for Truth. Today I want to talk to you about what is Hades. No, not in the way that a lot of people say, man, it's hot as Hades in here, which means it's really hot, right? Hot as hell, I guess. Today I want to talk to you about, really, biblically, what is Hades? Hades has been called by Merriam Webster Dictionary, as the land of the dead, or hell itself. The Hebrew word SHEOL, though, spoke of the state or the condition of the place of the dead, right? Hades in the Old Testament, and in the New Testament, they called it SHEOL, SHEOL, or it's also called Hades. But today I want to look at what Hades is, provide you with a general understanding of both the Old Testament understanding and the New Testament of Hades, or Sheol, and I should say that's spelled SHOEL, my bad, means, and what all that means in light of humans beings, they have a choice. They're their final destination. They choose it. God doesn't. Okay, so let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to Reason for Truth. I'm your host, Stevie Garofalo. Reason for Truth, truth comes first, reasons come last, but we're always in constantly learning, because we stop learning, we stop teaching, or at least stop teaching well. And you wouldn't want to do that, because we want to make sure as many people avoid Hades as possible. So part of our show is to lead those who maybe even who are new to the Christian faith or exploring the Christian faith. Welcome, man. Come on in. Glad you're here. And for those of us who are growing, listen, this is a great subject. Learn about what does the Bible say, not what Steve says or what do theologians say, but what does the word Hades really mean? It has a number of different meanings, by the way, in the New Testament. Those meanings are as follows. And you're going to think, hold on, Steve, you just told me Hades. We're going to talk about what Hades means. Well, it does. But, it's used in a couple different ways. Remember context. You got to keep that in mind, right? I remember in seminary, we were talking about different words. A lot of people say American English is really hard because words can mean many things, right? If I'm in Texas, I'm riding a horse, whoa, right? Horse stops. If you're in California, whoa, man, big wave, right? And, if I'm here on the East Coast, we're like, whoa, that means, man, you better stop, okay? No, we got a red line. We just talked about that in another episode. But anyways, let's get back. Number one, Hades can mean the grave or the place of bodily decay. That's nice, isn't it? When we think about being buried in a coffin and laid at rest in the ground, this would be one meaning of the word of Hades, or the grave. Now, Peter called the grave as the place of bodily decay when he spoke about the death of Jesus. This is what Peter said, Acts chapter 2, verses 29 to 31. I'm going to give it to you in the ESV, picking up in verse 29. He said, "Brothers, I may say to you with confidence about the patriarch David that he both died and was buried, and his tomb is with us to this day. Being therefore a prophet, and knowing that God had sworn with an oath to him that he would set one of his descendants on the throne," picking up verse 31, he says, "He foresaw and spoke about the resurrection of the Christ, that he was not abandoned to" what? Hades. "Nor did his flesh see corruption." Acts again, chapter 2, verses 29 to 31. That's number one. You could talk about the grave. Hey, man, he's going to Hades. He's going into the ground. Secondly, Hades is also referred to as the place of punishment of the wicked. I think this is where a lot of people think of it. Luke chapter 16, 23 to 26 is very clear about this usage of the word. Most of us call the place, this place is hell, right? Hades is hot as Hades, as we talked about earlier. Let's read Luke's account of chapter 16 regarding Hades, picking up in verse 3. It says, "And in Hades, being in torment, he lifted up his eyes and saw Abraham far off and Lazarus at his side." Remember the story of Lazarus, the poor Lazarus, and then the rich man. All right, pick up verse 24. "And he called out, 'Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus to dip the end of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in anguish in this flame.' But Abraham said, 'Child, remember that you in your lifetime received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you're in an anguish. And besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been fixed, in order that those who would pass from here to you may not be able, and none may cross from here to us." Luke chapter 16, verses 23 to 26. The most really visible or clearly laid out biblical in word pictures here example of the difference. There's a chasm between heaven and hell, and once you kind of cross the line from earthly life into the spiritual life total, well, there's no, you get one place or the other. Now, I would say that when we die, to be absent the body, to be present with the Lord, and after judgment, that's where hell and heaven come in. Heaven and hell, technically, biblically speaking, don't exist in its formal form, but in a sense, in an informal way, you can kind of say, to be present with the Lord, you're saying everybody, believers or not unbelievers, are in the presence of God. Yeah, some are just in his presence of judgment. So it's going to feel like Hades, right, to them. And then some will be in the presence of God, being present, and that will feel like heaven. Okay, that's enough of that. Different subject, different episode. According to the Bible, though, one either accepts Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, or they reject him. But if one accepts him, they are saved by the blood of Jesus Christ, and they live in heaven with God and other saints for eternity. But those who reject Jesus as Lord and Savior and his sacrifice, what he did on the cross, speaking of his crucifixion, well, those people live in a place of punishment of the wicked we call hell upon leaving the earth in their bodily form. In other words, when you die, that's where you go, right? Once the white throne and the whole bit, you have the final judgment. But that's number 2, is hell. But third, Hades is also referred to as a general term for the unseen realm of the dead. It's something used of the powers of death. Let me explain. Jesus said that the forces of Hades would not stop the spread of the gospel. Said that in Matthew 16. His exact words were this: "And I also say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it." Matthew 16:18. It's within this context that Hades speaks to the realm of the dead or the grave. But in any case, Hades is always connected with death and the dead, but it's never connected with life. That's for sure. And in part 2, which I'm going to cover next, I'm going to provide you with 4 essential things you need to know about Hades. And we're going to look a little more closely at the story of Lazarus and the rich man, which has always fascinated me, and I'm sure you too, and to see what Jesus says about Hades. So in the end, let's make sure do a couple things, because you don't want to miss part 2. That would be a shame. So you know what you could do? It's easy. Just go ahead, bam, God see us at Eastro. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that little alert bell down there. You won't miss it. Hey, I'll see you. Join me in my community, by the way. StephenGarofalo.com. What are you waiting for? Join today anywhere in the whole universe. At least, I don't know, I can't say there's internet outside the universe, but anywhere in the world you can. Doesn't matter what country you are. Africa continent, European continent, Asian continent, even North America and South and Central South America. Wow, what a novelty. Anyways, listen, make sure you join that and subscribe. We'll see you over the next episode. Part 2. I'm your host, Stephen Garofalo. This is your Reason for Truth for today.